But this is like a God-fearing American esport straight from the cornfields of the Midwest. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like to me. But it's huge. It's gigantic.
I think it's trying to hit that vibe, whereas Venn was very ESPN of sports buttoned up, and that just wasn't going to
I mean, look.
But in the venue, then you can decide which one you want to watch, but you're only going to hear one. Not a good idea.
Can I get some whiskey in this?
All right, welcome back, folks. It's been 2 years, but it's time. The breakdown from Do Not Peak Entertainment is back on the air every Wednesdays. Little different this time. We're going to get right into it. I'm not alone. I didn't want to do it alone again. I'm a like-to-rant kind of guy, but I got tired of ranting to myself. So I went and found a young Scoots, a young, better-looking, just as angry, just as feisty, similar but different backgrounds on how we've come up in esports. Mitch Leslie, UberShouts, welcome as the official co-host of The Breakdown. How the are you?
Yeah, good. Good to be here, man. Nice to finally actually do a show. I think we've been talking about this for a while. Yeah, obviously slightly different backgrounds as I, came up in the Australian scene and then ended up in Europe for a while, but sort of been aware, especially someone who dipped his feet pretty deeply into Counter-Strike casting for a bit, so I was fairly aware of the scene. But yeah, good to be here. And again, obviously, I'm on VALORANTing here on Do Not Peak, which is on Tuesday, so there's a chance to delve into stuff about that scene a little bit, but having a chance to look at esports, and we are looking at esports, we're not just going to give you some watered down, half and half, milquetoast general gaming crap. We're here to talk about esports. Having a chance to do that on a show like this with you is great, so thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thanks for saying yes. I'm an acquired taste in the industry.
Thanks for paying me, bro.
So, well, yeah, it's all about the Benjamins. So to bring you up to speed, obviously, if you're not familiar with The Breakdown, we did this show when we first started Do Not Peak in a different studio a couple years ago, right before lockdown, COVID hit. And it's a studio-based show. We're in a very fancy XR stage. It used to be green screen. Now I can look and I can actually see everything behind me. It's really, really cool. It lights up all around us. And when we went into lockdown, VALORANT hit. I didn't want to do this show remotely. I was taking care of mom, COVID, lots of real-world responsibilities. I'm like, I don't feel comfortable doing my show. Let's figure out what else we do. VALORANT drops that beta. We had just started talking about this game coming on the last episodes of The Breakdown. Then it hits hard. I go, let's do a show. I do the very first one and go, I'm not going to be able to keep up on this game to be the host. So we went down this long path of co-hosts and hosts and decided to do a weekly VALORANT show because we at Do Not Peak definitely think the game is going to be a strong esport, And so that's how you and I started talking about Do Not Peak VALORANTing, and obviously we were trying to woo you even before that of, hey, when you want to get off the road, we're doing some cool shit. So it's awesome, A, we got you on VALORANTing because, you're into that game. You're our main host on that. You're rocking that. And then now to get you coming to do this for us. And again, as he said, this is going to be an esports gaming news kind of show, but it's not your Sports Center scores, highlights, coverage show. Every esports you love has plenty of people in those
are you
scenes.
saying you don't want to go through the VCT map by map? Anthony! Can't believe we did that. Daniel!
That's Tuesdays.
Ian!
That's Tuesdays. Get all your VALORANT news on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
So, it's not that kind of show. It's more top-level stuff. It could be big drama. It could be big news. We've got a boatload, and we're going to do a little bit of evergreen, catch up on some topics that happened while we've been away, and then we'll generally be kind of a weekly news show, big topics of the week that will then delve into big conversations that topic might have led down. Maybe there was a cheating incident at an event, leads to bigger questions about competitive integrity. How do we tackle those kind of things? So if you're familiar with me, it's going to be a very similar show than you're used to, but now we've added again an equally opinionated...
Just obnoxious guy from the southern hemisphere.
Yeah, and you're willing to say what's on you. That's the thing I love about you is you obviously are a freelancer. You do work in the space. You care about that, but you're also more than willing to give your actual hardcore opinion about something, even if it might draw some ire and maybe even cost you some bucks.
Yeah,
That's hard to find.
Because I think a lot of casters, we could touch on this briefly, are probably pretty reluctant to do that because it can hurt their sort of career opportunities. And look, frankly, sub-tournament organizers, a lot of them don't want to pick up these sort of polarizing individuals, right? We've had years of the same esports broadcast with the same carbon copy of a white guy with brown hair, just nodding his head at everything he's asked to do. They say jump, they say how high, right game. So obviously we've now, a lot of casters are in that position where they don't really want to put their foot in it. But look, I've been lucky to fool some really stupid people into giving me enough money to live off and here we are. So now we can maybe talk a bit of that, and hopefully we can broach some topics that either get missed or people don't understand enough, or maybe people are a little uncomfortable to talk about because I'll go down swinging.
Yeah. And again, I've spent a career swinging and going.
Yeah.
I bet
Swinging?
That's it. No, we're done. That's it. We're done. All right, let's get into it. Let's first catch up a little bit. Obviously, COVID hit.
Yeah.
I had a funny little thing like, what did you during COVID? Like your summer vacation, and the big things for me, obviously, we're taking care of mom, figuring out how we run the business in this remote. What do we do without a studio before we have a studio land? And then I decided, you know what? Now is the time. I always wanted to do this. I always wanted to see how long I could grow my beard. So, nothing to worry about camera-wise, no clients, nothing, hermit land. So that's about how far I got. And let me tell you.
How long was that? Sorry, very quickly. This is what the beard turned into? It got sentience?
And then my cat showed up out of my beard.
Oh, that's your cat. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought your beard just
I think
grew
the
so
beard-
long
the-
it had a mind of its own. It
The
started
beard
foraging.
literally was from mid-March of lockdown
Okay.
till I got my vaccine April a year plus later.
Okay.
So 13 months.
So that's how long
Yeah.
it takes to
Yep.
grow a beard. I tell you what, I had a awful one while
And
I
then I
was
got
in
a cat.
lockdown as well. Don't show that. I mean, this one's great. Yeah. I had a
Yeah, this is what
beard,
you
but
did.
Then I had a kid. This was a better decision than growing a beard for me, at the very least.
Was it though? It was more expensive.
Oh, it is expensive, no doubt about it.
Ash
But-
isn't watching, is she? She
Oh,
working?
she might be. You never
boy.
know. Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
boy.
see.
Oh,
We'll
boy.
see if there's thumbtacks on my seat when I get home. But yeah, obviously, last January, we brought a little boy into the world, which was great.
So
Obviously,
awesome.
I don't know if esports is like really ready to deal with talent and players and stuff that have kids. I think it's like a little bit. So far that I've found, there's not a lot of provisions for that, which is fine. It's like a freelance industry, but I've had a lot of conversation with people like, oh, you have a kid. Oh, that means, oh, wait a minute, you might not be able to travel to this thing
Yeah,
or do this
sure.
thing. So
Yep.
I've had to navigate that in an industry where I think maybe the second wave, but all you first wave just couldn't, like you're repulsive to the fairer sex. Like no one wanted to have kids with you guys. So like it's my generation. The second generation, he's looking at me like he's not happy.
Because we were losing money. We were spending our money. You got money.
I guess so.
You know how it works.
But I don't know. Like I don't know too many other people in esports that are sort of having kids right now. There are a few, right? There's I know that Frankie's either expected. I don't know if she's giving birth yet.
Very soon.
Bala, obviously Valorant commentator, ex-Fortnite guy. I think he's had a kid. Obviously, Sean Gares, Nitro from 100 Thieves.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that sort of now the second wave, I will say, of professionals are having kids. The first wave just never had time with it because they gave up their life
Jordan.
to yeah, exactly.
Jordan Gilbert
Nothing's
has a
also
kid
that
now,
one.
which
So
blows my mind because in my mind he's still a kid who played for me when I was at EG.
Yep.
Right? And he's now again more mature than me. It's
So
amazing.
it's that's happening. You know what I mean? So that's all. You know, I bet my co-commentator Matt Morello is probably not too far away from it either. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So like that's what's happening, and we're trying to figure it out. But outside of that, I mean, I didn't do too much. I cast 2 seasons of the Overwatch League from my garage because
Yeah.
we went fully remote. So that gave me plenty of time to ponder my navel and pull the lint out of it. And yeah, I tried to, just get in better shape over the break as well, and just try and, find some motivation in the day to day, because I'm sure, this resonates with you as well. It was kind of easy to feel stagnant during that lockdown.
Yeah, and I think we all went through waves of hyperactivity and hyper stagnation, and I think we're all now like Jason and I joked when we got out of remote and we moved into our new facility in our office, which is great. But like we all had to remember like what it was like actually being with people, not just being on a Zoom call or being in a Slack channel or something. Kind of relearning your social cues.
Dude, I've been at 2 Christmas parties back to back. Yeah, one was for TSM's one. Don't know why I got invited to that one. It's all like young like Vietnamese Zoomers and just guys with like a ton of money. Like it's Dan Din and like all the people he hired. Like and Andy, of course, as the CEO. And then I went to the Critical Role Christmas party the day after. So I was just gassed. 2 of these holiday parties, and people literally no cap. People stood around and being like,
Hey.
I didn't know how to talk to each other at all. Or people either, or the other end of the spectrum is people overshared about what they've been through. It's like we're trying to find out where on the spectrum of social we should fit. So, and I was exhausted. I think I was an extrovert before this happened, but maybe I was wrong because now one gathering, you know what I mean, kind of gasses me out.
Yeah.
just fried.
It's because you kind of rewire your entire psyche, and then all of a sudden you got to rewire it back in a way.
Yeah.
And then you obviously started working out a lot. You know, we've got your gym represented behind you. You're doing
great.
a
I've
workout
got
stream,
some
so
equipment.
that's very inspiring.
There's actually the TV behind me is actually me lifting. Obviously, I do a little gym stream a few days a week. So
curls.
yeah, that's quite funny. But yeah, no, look, I mean, it was something that I did anyway. But what I found is that I couldn't go to the gym when lockdown started because, like, I mean, you know, I wasn't going to risk contracting anything. Gyms shut in like March, and I was a bit of a sad bastard. I'll be honest with you. Didn't really have like an outlet for you know, my mental health. It's a big part of it now, right? My sort of mental health regime is to do that because I just wanted to feel like I was progressing in some way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I spent a bit of money on getting a home little gym set up, and we were good to go. So thank God for that, because I don't know how it would have gone otherwise. I would not have been a nice person, I think. And that not even counting the first 3 months of being a father, which that was tough. That was tough.
We've had some conversations about that.
Yeah,
That's got to be an adventure and a half.
Worth it.
So let's get into our first topic, and it's more of an evergreen topic. This has already kind of happened, but what we will talk about a lot, which is what I've always talked about on my shows, whether it's Live on 3 or the Breakdown, stuff like that, is production of events, the world of production in esports, content creation, gaming stuff, all the different companies coming out. And one of the big things that happened during kind of pre-COVID, we talked about it actually on the Breakdown, some of their press releases, but then during COVID, they came out gangbusters. They came out loaded for bear, Venn.
Yeah.
This new mega network coming to deliver us content in a whole new way.
Yeah, so the idea was they come out and say, we want to be the MTV of gaming. That's what we want to do. Very broad. I haven't watched MTV. Is it still around? I don't know.
I think it is.
Okay, so it does exist still. So the idea was obviously bringing short, long-form content, about 85% long-form is what they quoted, to network television, because they raised a large amount of funding from, like, I think, like Nexstar.
Yeah, quite a bit of money here. Here's some of the
$43 million.
$43 million.
Okay, so that's a large sum of money, and I'll be honest, I auditioned to be on Venn.
Okay.
Right, because they ran auditions in LA, and basically we were also in kind of lockdown scenarios, so I had to sort of set up a fake desk at home and read a prompter. I didn't have the equipment to do it, and Ashley stood in there, and she just overshadowed me as the person who was supposed to be just like reading like. Well, anyway, obviously didn't get a call back from it, which is fine. I just like the Twitter followers, but yeah, that was pretty ambitious project. Clear to see that like a lot of money was being spent, I mean, outside of just the investment. And they were really hoping to be all-encompassing, right? Gaming, lifestyle, fashion, culture, the whole kit and caboodle.
It seems like, and we laugh about it now because it's happened, it seems like they wanted to be the new G4. And then G4 decided to come back.
G4 decided to be the new G4,
Oh, by the way,
right?
yeah. Because it's very slick. It's very highly produced. Some of the things they said when Ariel came out,
There's Ariel Horn, by the way.
Ariel Horn,
obviously, who was like
award-winning
head honcho on LCS, yeah, one of the brains behind the LCS as an entertainment product, and also like 4-time Emmy award-winning dude.
Yeah. Again, when you saw the initial press releases, you're like, wow, there's smart people behind this. There's smart money behind here. You know, and we had fired up our little production company, Do Not Peak Entertainment. So we're like, what are they doing? This is crazy. And the idea was they were going to have an LA-based studio and a New York-based studio. This is initially pre-COVID. And then again, on both coasts, cranking out content. And I think their play, much like G4's play, is not Twitch and YouTube. It's taking these shows to the mainstream over-the-top networks that want this kind of content. The big distro channels, TV stuff.
And maybe the networks wanted that, right? Maybe. But did they sell to any big networks? I think Nexstar was one of their investors who were like deeply entrenched with like networks and Roku TV, right? Of course, which is obviously a huge property. But I wonder, it's like they almost aimed the product at the networks and not the people who'd actually be watching it.
And that's, I think, always the linchpin problem. If you go after that mainstream, but you not only ignore the hardcore, the regulars of your restaurant, if you will,
right,
or you make content that turns them off, it's also, in the end, not going to help your mainstream, because they want the buzz that the hardcore likes.
Sure.
Right? And we use the word authentic a lot in our space, right? Gamers for gamers. Every company is for gamers, by gamers, you know, all these different things. And it didn't feel, even though they had some authentic personalities and people from our space, it didn't feel authentic. And I often wonder if it's stuff like, is it too slick? Is it too nice? Like, obviously, we're in a fucked up little XR set, right?
Well, we
like,
are trying to be a little slick here.
a little slick. It's not a cheap place we're in, but
Yeah.
it's obviously, we're not trying to, we're not in a fancy New York studio. And then I wonder, the minute I recognize and like a personality, like I watch you, I enjoy your stuff, but if I tune in and all of a sudden you're reading teleprompter shit to me, I don't like you anymore because you're not who I liked.
I've been there. Yeah.
Right? And our industry is generally not teleprompted, right? You're generally not scripted, right? And these were all very scripted shows, right? Hi, welcome back. And that you need a little bit of that for your plugs in and out, and I get that. You got to get your plugs right, but when it feels like you're watching the breakdown and I'm SirScoots and next up, I think us hardcore just instantly go, ugh, what are you doing,
Yeah, okay. I mean, obviously we'll talk about sort of more recent news in a moment, but I think it started in August, right? I think like April the year after, it was like August 2020, 2019, around there. Then the next year in April, they said, okay, this is not working.
Yeah.
We're going to scale things down. This isn't even the recent news. So this is another scaling down, the fourth scaling down, as Jacob Wolf correctly points out. And this is a big scale down. But the one I'm talking about is, I think, prior to this, where they say, okay, no more polish. In fact, we're getting rid of most of our long-form content, these shows, and we're going for short-form content, right? And we're trying to, eliminate the polish and get some more scuff going on. Where I think, what was the wording they used? Like raw contact with creators is what they were trying to create. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But also, like, your viewers have to care about your creators. Like, I'll be honest, I would have been in the same position. You put me on that show and people were like, who the fuck's this dickhead? Like, I mean? Like, people that know me, but in general, I guess
not their fault.
Sasha Grey was on the Venn Network.
Yeah.
There was this show that sort of where, she delved into some of the topics, more can of wormsy topics about life that people deal with less. I thought that was interesting, but I mean, Matt Morello, who was the person who took the standard-looking white guy brown hair slot from me, who beat me out in the audition, was saying that it got to the point where he just went to his computer at home, got on like a vMix call, and was just on the wall while Jimmy Wong and Aaron Simon and Emma Fife, I think, were sat at the table talking. So Venn obviously realized people don't actually fucking want this content. They don't want the MTV of gaming. They want, a more authentic connection, which you don't get, when you put a prompter in front of someone, right? Yeah. I did like an esports weekly news show for Cloud9 for a bit. It was pretty heavily prompted. I thought the show was good, but we all love the stuff that we work on, right? We all always have a bit of a soft spot for it. But no one watched that either, because they didn't want to watch like a show that was about 24 different fucking games. Like you just, and each time you talked about a certain game, it was so skin deep, you never really got anywhere. So anyway, that was the first scale back. Now this second scale back seems like it might be good night, Sweet Prince.
Yeah, and again, they came hot and heavy, and then they fucking poofed. And rumor on the street behind the scenes is that they're trying to sell whatever they can sell, whether that's
they
show
contracted
IP assets.
an accounting firm to handle the acquisition or something like that.
Yeah, because they ended up, I believe they were always renting their studio space in LA. They never got to the point where they built and opened their own facilities, so they don't have those kind of assets. Now maybe they have some gear,
sure,
but maybe it's some of the IP of the show. And then I just wonder, did they just, because they came out early, they made it a big deal during COVID that, hey, because remember, right when COVID hit, everyone's numbers skyrocketed. It was the greatest thing in the world because no one else had anything to watch. Everyone's numbers went up for esports, and they decided we should come early and take advantage of everyone at home needing content. So probably a good idea, but that led them to having to rent the facilities in LA versus having their own. And then I wonder, did they really need to start with 5 days of shows and all that staff and all that talent?
Or was it at least 3, right? Was it 5 full days
I think it was 5 weeks. It was 3 to start and played over and over and over, right?
Yeah.
And I just wonder if they bit off a classic example. Did you bite off too much and burn through your runway way too quick? Misjudged who you might sell your shit to?
Or did you just make a product that people didn't actually, you might thought, like, it's an idea, right? It's a fun idea. Let's do MTV for gaming. how many times has trying to recreate like a traditional entertainment product in esports really gone that well, right?
I mean, we've seen 25 Sports Center versions of ESPN's esports news show come through the doors.
And people that watch linear TV, right, will watch that shit because they don't fucking know any better. They watch the NFL Sunday show. It's like a bunch. I'm sure they're very well respected. Some of them, like a Hall of Famer, like football player, sat there. You know what I mean? Okay, fair enough. But people don't know any better, right?
Yeah.
And even that has like a little bit of, off the cuff stuff. In Australia, we've got a show called The Footy Show that, well, I don't know if it's still going, but it aired during the week. It was about Australian football, right? And it was like pretty out there, like fairly unscripted, very but it was very blokey, right? Too fucking blokey.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
get a Jimbo, and some of the humor just didn't really stick. I don't think it really would have worked in today. So, Venn, they're dead. That's it. It's fucking curtains. And we are talking like high-profile investors. Noel Winston probably had his fucking, his hand in that one. I know that, again, Ariel Horn is a very, highly respected individual. This is around the same time that the product known as Quibi also just shat the bed.
Yes, Quibi came and went in the same time frame. 15 minutes.
Right,
it was on your phone.
It was predicated on the fact that Jim Bob, bloody no hands on the fucking subway, which we don't have in LA because your public transport's dog shit there. But you don't have 30 minutes to watch a show, so you're gonna watch a 15-minute show because you don't want to fucking pause anything.
Yeah, God forbid you come back to that show you were watching.
Shit, we have like DVRs that record shit for you now when you're away from home. Another example, maybe of an idea that doesn't actually just have the staying power that you might think. But what then? While we're all operating our doomed esports shows, what then do you think separates G4 from this Venn initiative? Because obviously G4 boots itself back up. They bring in a very diverse and known cast of creators, some with extremely polarizing opinions, especially about certain billionaires' proclivities for enjoying League of Legends characters, but that's a whole other story. Yeah. Is this the same shit?
Yes. I think yes, with a little more authentic flavor.
Right. Because I tuned in and Ovily's making sex noises. I'm like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think they're definitely trying to hit more of what we're used to and what we like to watch, whether from our streamer or type of content from some of the shows I've seen so far. And I think what obviously G4 has going for it that Venn never would have had is G4 has a history. Now, whether they match that history, whether they come back the same, like they existed before, so they'll have that. And they leaned into it, obviously, with the rebrand. They've got some of the shows coming back, etc. And obviously, I know some of the people on here really well. Like Golden Boy, obviously, we know really well.
Yeah. Who moved from New York to do this show. So that's a vote of confidence, for sure.
Yeah, but again, I see the same issue. I don't want to say problem because I don't know if it's a problem yet for them. They're obviously spending a boatload of money on facility, talent, and production crew in this building in LA, and they're hoping to make enough good content to get past Twitch. It's not the money for this kind of content does not live on Twitch and YouTube. They cannot pay for this facility from Twitch and YouTube streams. So they have to...
Especially because they're not going to fucking sell broadcast rights, are they?
And I don't think, because Twitch isn't in that game anymore. Now, 5 years ago...
Well, they might be again. We'll see.
Maybe for a G4, there's some money there. But the point being, they got to figure out how to take this kind of content, trim it, package it, do what they need to do to it, and sell it to the big boys, the big networks, for their kind of content. Because they're all still gaming and esports.
But they are already a network, right? This is Comcast money that bankrolls this show.
Right. So here's where they have a better distro pipeline than maybe Venn had, even though Venn had that deal going. I think they've got a better in to go, this show where, let's make this show for this network. Because that's how they make their money, whether they start white labeling or co-branding and getting it off of our streaming platforms.
I will say that if we're going to attack the core issue, I think with retention on shows like this, like the authenticity, I think is important. I think that Fish Sticks is sort of mentioned in chat, and I tend to agree that if you're trying to attack this and really provide like a show that's about gaming where people can sort of definitely interface with. And what the guy was on from MythBusters was on there as well. Forget his name.
Yeah, he was interviewed.
Adam Savage. Thank you.
Adam Savage. Yeah.
People of age 35 and up just seething at me right now.
Yeah. Didn't Kevin interview him?
Yeah. And so there are some cool show content, but I'll be honest with you. I haven't really felt like, what's the discoverability like? I follow a bunch of people in esports, so I don't really get heavily pointed to a lot of these shows. Is this all on Twitch as well?
Yeah, I mean they're on Twitch.
It's all on Twitch.
Yeah, I don't know where else they're putting it. I do know
Either
it's
my
on
head's
Twitch.
up my ass or fucking buried in diapers that I'm changing, or I've not really managed to find my way across to the show that many times. I'll be honest with you. So, yeah.
Well, and, and obviously Twitch has its own discoverability problems, whether you're big or small. Just in a regular person seeing what else is on the site. So if you don't already follow them, or you're not in that loop where it shows up in your recommendations, you might not see some of their stuff, right? And again, in watching their content, again, it seems more genuine. It seems more unscripted and more a lot of like stream hours and tune in and we're just gaming and fucking around, and that's what people are used to already watching on Twitch, whether it's an XQC or a different streamer. So I think it's trying to hit that vibe, whereas Venn was very ESPN of sports buttoned up, and that just wasn't gonna
I mean,
fly.
look, take it from somebody who worked in the Overwatch League, like from 2018 to now. That shit never worked for us. Don't think we didn't fucking try it. We were on like what, ABC, ESPN, The Ocho.
Yep.
Told by our fucking numbskull director at the time to like dumb things down as much as possible. Here you go. Where to watch? Here we go. Found this for me. So obviously on the website you can do it, and on Twitch. Also cable television on service providers such as Verizon, Fios, Xfinity, and more. Again, Xfinity, another Comcast product there. So very, very much in there. But so I think they already have existing distro, like you mentioned. I do think they hit the mark a little bit better. We still haven't had the question of, does this make sense for this generation of cable cutters? Because I don't have cable. I'm 30. I don't fucking watch that shit. If I want to watch the NFL, I watch it on my fucking fantasy football app. You know what I mean? That's it. I don't want to see the news. I don't want to see Fox. I don't want to see CNN. I don't want to see any of these motherfuckers trying to tell me some bullshit. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people would say, not that I want to tune in and have Moist Critical give me life advice either. Yeah. But a lot of people fucking do this. You know what I mean? So it might be that people want even more scuff than what even G4 is trying to achieve. But there's a lot of people working on that product, and obviously it would be a big blow to the industry if this didn't work, right? It'd be the kind of thing where like it might set us back a little bit if this kind of VC just goes up in smoke like Venn. Yeah.
I mean, we're not, obviously, Comcast is terrible as an ISP if you have them. I've always heard, I've never had them, but they always seem to be like, oh, what's your ISP? Oh, no wonder you're a shit. So, but that's a lot of money. That's a lot of investment. So, yeah, fingers crossed that version 2 of G4, we'll keep an eye on it. Because, again, also, how their numbers are right now doesn't matter. How their numbers are in a year is what matters.
Yeah, right? It depends what their, like, KPIs are as well. They're not always what you think they are. They're not always, like, just straight viewership. But that's fine. I tell you what, this happened a couple of weeks ago, right? This, over at the VALORANT Champions Tour. Obviously, we've had Champions, the biggest event. And this year of VALORANT, and let's bear in mind, the game came out, late last year. So they have spun up an esports scene in a year with a LAN final, with a global qualification process, which before we get into any of this is, in fairness, a Herculean task in and of itself. They've been able to pipeline, hundreds and hundreds of teams from different regions. In the top 8 alone, there was teams from the Philippines and Thailand, alongside teams from Argentina and Chile, in the top fucking 8, alongside great teams in Europe, and one from North America, even though they kind of suck. But we had an interesting ruling. I don't know how much of this you saw. Did you see what happened with Vivo Key and Ascend?
I did. I've been obviously very busy getting the studio up and running, so I always watch a lot of esports, but tend to, if it's not an esport I'm into, like Counter-Strike, it's really about the production. Sure. So what's the semis, what's their desk look like, what's their stage look like. So I've been enamored with all of Riot's stuff for VALORANT. Well, obviously League is beautiful too when they do their worlds. Yeah. So I watched a little bit of this. I've paid attention to this drama, but I obviously we're in an XR stage, so I love all their XF stuff. But let's jump right into this. Yeah, because this also, again, this show will often be, we talk about one thing in the news that leads to a whole big conversation about problems with competitive integrity or something else in our
We just go on mad tangents,
Yeah. So this is, why don't you walk us through what happened with this one?
So, in their match against Ascend, Vivo Key used, they basically, Cypher, obviously, as you may know, agent in VALORANT, he can place a camera, he can look through it. It's like voyeurism meets, you shoot them up, right? You can throw a camera down. Basically, teams are informed well in advance that if you're using a Cypher camera that allows you to look through an otherwise opaque texture, it's a glitch in the game, right? So fundamentally, it's a problem with the developer that needs to be sorted out. But a player here from Vivo Key, Joe is how it's pronounced, He used a camera that basically allowed him to see through what otherwise would be a solid wall and gain information on probably the most important part of the map of Breeze, where people sort of come out onto the site where the two, like, sort of looks like bloody Madonna's bikini from one of their performances, like two pyramids. You can basically see the attacking team come through cave there, and if you don't see them, it's also mad. It's sick information.
Yeah, not knowing is knowing in a way, or not seeing is knowing. Yeah.
Initially, he said it was used. They said it was used 6 rounds. So what they've actually done is, they sort of forfeited the rounds from them, and there was a whole lot of bullshit about it. But I think what really got to me most, Scott, was the inconsistency with how this had been approached in the past. We talked about it on Valoranting because this happened before. Teams have done this camera and been punished before as a result of it. And this Vivo Keyed ruling was much softer on it.
Yeah, and you know, obviously, plug for you all at home. We do a show every Tuesday called Valoranting, covering all the weekly news of Valorant. So there's your coverage show for Valorant every Tuesday. He's one of the hosts, 11 o'clock Pacific. No, 12 o'clock Pacific.
That's 11. It's 11.
It is 11.
Yep.
I'm sorry, yeah, 12 for us. You had a little thing to
I'd
say
read.
about
I'd read.
this.
Yeah,
Let's see Mitch in his element. This is why he's on this show.
Vivo Kid fucking cheated. You cunts cheated. You cheated. Now, initially, the 7 rounds, they lost those rounds. Like the initial punishment was too fucking soft, based on the precedent that has already been set. But because Riot are being a bunch of soft cunts about this, and probably because everyone is losing their mind, because apparently, you know, as long as you get enough people tweeting the same fucking hashtag without even knowing what it's about, don't fucking tell me that everyone who used that hashtag knew what it meant. Get fucked. It was #1 trending. Yeah. You are going to flagrantly ignore the precedent you've already set with your league operations department and your rules, and you are going to overturn it and allow the match to be... Now, in fairness, Riot did obviously give a large handicap to Ascend, and they did win the series as a result. You're telling me that you have just fucking bent over backwards for this region, and they're complaining on Twitter in order to allow this to be replayed. So, look, this is fair. You know, we've determined they should have forfeited 3 rounds, not 6 or whatever. Okay, teams did this once, and you fucking had the game. You had the game disqualified once, and now you're going to allow the. I understand that this is maybe a different tier of event, but that should mean that the punishment should be more severe, not less, because there's so much more on the line. Well, and there's so many other teams that have so much to lose.
Yeah. So obviously when I'm mad, I jump around a little bit, right? So that is probably a little bit hard to digest, but I'll try and keep it short. So basically in the past, teams use this camera, they forfeited the match. They actually forfeited their next match after that as well. That was the precedent set for the abuse of this camera spot.
Gotcha.
And doesn't matter if you did it in 1 round or 7, you got disqualified from that series, right? Now, Vivo Keyed is a team from Brazil. The Brazilian fan base is obviously very vehement, very vocal. Now, what happened initially is that Riot were like, okay, well, hold on. They started with a softer solution. They said, all right, well, you use it in 6 rounds. So we're going to take 6 rounds off you and then give them to Ascend. And then what we're going to do is we're going to give them 1 round as well. The problem is that resulted in a 13-10 result for Ascend. So basically, it's a referee decision that actually changed the outcome of the game, which is quite drastic. If you think about it, like no one in a basketball, NBA game or NFL game goes back and changes the fucking result. They just get on with it and they apologize for like making a bad call that ended up, giving one team a win. And then the Brazilian fan base went fucking tropical, absolute bananas. And like hashtag justice for Keyed was #1 trending.
Yeah.
Globally, not just in fucking Brazil. And then the next day they're like, oh, well, we've determined actually they only use the camera in 3 rounds. So we're going to give 3 rounds. That means the score is now, they did some fucking bullshit maths. And it's like, oh, the score's now 12-10 for Ascend. And everyone's like, well, that's not a finished game, is it, mate? That's not a finished game. And I was like, you really going to fucking bundle these guys back onto the stage and have them play what might be 1 round?
Yeah.
Or force overtime. So basically they're like, okay. How about this? Let's just fucking restart the game, but give Ascend 7 rounds. So we're going to start 7 rounds in. Ascend almost lost, to be fair.
They did.
But they ended up winning the game. And then like we had this celebration at the end where like Vivo Keyed got up like, yeah, you guys really worked hard to like this fake sarcastic, and Ascend's just like, fuck you guys, like you cheated. Like why? You know what I mean? And they weren't disqualified or nothing, right? Ascend had to go back and replay the game. And no one on this Vivo Keyed team, I'm going on now.
No, this is why you're
this
here.
is rant number 2. No one on this Vivo Key team had the decency to be like, oh, yeah, I mean, there's a precedent set for this. It's in the rules. And then their fan base just gassed them up all the time. And we have a situation where Riot wasn't able to sort of enforce this ruling in a consistent manner.
Yeah.
Because teams are literally, for that exact same exploit, had series taken away from them. So
Inconsistent.
huge issue. And I was fucking mad about it because I feel like they capitulated to the pressure from this fan base.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I haven't spoken to a League Ops person on the right side about it because you think they want to fucking talk to me? No, I'm fucking mad at them.
But okay, so even if you give them the benefit of the doubt that they had a hasty first decision because we're live, we got a broadcast going, let's figure this out. They fuck up that first one. Okay, cool. You've thought about it now, so you come out with the second one. But then that one really isn't the answer because you then have to just really fucking throw it away and go to the third option with some points or
because
some rounds.
they dug this hole for themselves because
Yeah.
they started off with this weird like accounting of like giving rounds and taking rounds.
Yep. And again, this gets back to this question of competitive integrity, rules being as black and white as possible, so admins don't have to even think. It's like, oh, nope, here's the fucked up thing. It sounds like there's precedent and this rule had no gray.
For 2 teams.
Yeah.
For 2 teams.
For
had
those 2
said-
teams already punished, no grayness there, right? So that's kind of weird. And then I was reading that somewhere along the way they were talking to the teams and getting what the team's opinion on what they thought they should do. Should we replay? Should we do this? And we're of the opinion always that you just don't ask players how to.
Well, I mean, they have
the
a
sport.
vested interest. You know what I mean? Like, what?
Not their job.
How are you supposed to? You should probably just say, "Hey, we're probably going to do this." You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure what they're hoping for from.
Because you as a player can't win if you stick to your competitive integrity guns and say no, fuck them. Then that fan base will eat your lunch, right? If you say, "Oh yeah, we should replay it," even though in my mind they shouldn't, and you lose, well, now you've literally fucked your career a little bit, right? For maybe the right reason, maybe not the right reason. So
But there's already this
never ask
stigma.
'em,
There's already this
you know?
stigma on the side of Brazilian fans, in not just Brazilian fans, but them specifically in esports, that people are out to get them, that they get treated unfairly, inconsistently, and that they're being oppressed by rule sets the world around.
Yeah.
So this, even though I think that this was absolutely Vivo Keith's fault, this just feeds that narrative. So, and this is what is
Yeah, because they got the squeaky wheel.
and then and then it's like, here we go again. The fucking the West, the English speaking countries versus Brazil, and they're just going at it, and like a whole bunch of stuff fed into this, right? It really marred the tournament. Like, the guy CEO of Furia got involved, saying like you should respect Brazilians, especially because many of them live in poverty. The guy's got like a $200,000 profile picture, by the way, as he says this.
Yeah.
Just fucking clown.
Yeah, because Zoms.
And so Zoms is tweeting
Zom's trash
inflammatory
talk.
shit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it is trash talk, but it is definitely inflammatory. It's like, oh, can't wait to beat your shit region. It was like, oh, he must mean me as a person is shit, not that my region is objectively poor at Valorant, which is, I mean, verifiably true based on our standings and every fucking. No, it's got to be me.
Yeah, and he was calling for Riot to sanction the kid or punish him or do something. Like, come on, man.
What are they going to do? What are they supposed? I get unless you might have provisions for punishment for unsportsmanlike conduct.
Possibly.
That I would say it falls under that, but that's about it.
Yeah. So let's get into it. Past that. So obviously, big drama. The issue still comes down to great rule sets. We had it. What sparked it was kind of funny. All the Counter-Strikers immediately started talking about the nuke box bug. Do you remember this back in the day? Nuke, if you're not familiar, nuke Counter-Strike map. In the ramp room, there was a box, like right as the ramps come down, that if you were a terrorist and you were doing your thing and you're rushing towards ramps and you start throwing flashes, if one of those flashes bounced and hit right under this first box, it would flash not only the ramp room,
Behind the box.
but all outside, and it would flash half
the
the
whole
map.
Yeah.
And again, when it first happened, the rule was if you do it, you lose that round and you lose the rest of the rounds of the half, no ifs, ands, or fucking buts, whether you meant to do it or not. So everyone just stopped throwing flashes in the ramp.
So
right?
CT players will sit behind the boxes and just hold rushes down.
And then they and Jason was part of rules committees and stuff. Shout out to the control room. They figured out, I think, more of a reasonable punishment that ended up being because of the money system. Like you lost that round and like the next 3 or 4 rounds based on the money system breaking and stuff. Got a little bit more reasonable. And that was back in the day when Valve didn't give a shit about our game. And they couldn't find the original map file to open it to bring the box down. So someone eventually got it, and Drax got a copy of it, and he put a fake wall in front to block so the flash couldn't go under anymore, but that's how it got fixed.
Yeah.
But shit like that, same kind of thing. Like you fucked it up, it didn't matter. Like, sorry, too bad, so bad, you just lost the map.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just so weird that Riot had the one question about the precedent. The two previous precedents, LAN related or all online?
Online.
Do you think the pressure of them all being together in like
Maybe, but
the
like,
finals?
I think you can probably agree. The more important the tournament, the more severe the punishment should probably be.
Absolutely, that's when you send the message.
At the very fucking least, the same, right? The League Ops folk might be a little newer, might not be aware of it. Like, there's a ton of reasons why, but the person's signature on that piece of paper says Alex Francois. So whoever the fuck you are, I pin that on you.
Now, one more question before we move on to the rest of the tournament.
Sure,
'cause
sure.
Van Silly brought it up, and then you guys started talking about on Valoranting. Was the idea that what's an admin's job? What is an admin's job? Is it just, hey, start the match, go live, and watch, or at events like this and games where there's multiple POVs, should literally there be a truck or a room with guys? Like, should someone have caught on the admin side that this guy was placing this camera 7 times while he was placing the camera, or is that not something catchable?
Yeah, should have been caught. Well, it probably should have been noticed, but it's not the observer's job to look for that, right?
Not the observer. I
Yeah,
mean, a
yeah.
special admin.
Yeah.
Like admins who are just watching POVs for shit.
You should have a referee, right? I mean, great example, Graham Pitt, who was what? He was with Astralis, now Complexity, I think. He's like their GM or something. He was a referee for ESL. Really knew his stuff.
Yeah, when I say admin, I mean that.
Yeah,
admin,
yeah,
referee.
yeah. I mean, both. You should have
Yeah,
both, realistically. And the fucking ref should be stood behind the players. They should be, like, we have
And
this.
knowledgeable enough to know the game they're adminning, reffing to that, oh shit, that's probably not cool. Because maybe the kid gets tapped on the shoulder and goes, hey, by the way, can't do that.
It's like hard because I think, so all the players, the way the player side replays work is that they actually just take a direct capture of the player's PC instead of funneling it through EVS and going through all these.
Sure, I'm
so
with you. Okay.
In theory, there should be a master screen that has all 10 POVs, but like, how big is that? Like a multi-view usually makes things quite small and it's just for reference. So
That's what I'm talking about. Like you'd have a ref room where they're just watching all the monitors for fucked up tournament shit.
yeah,
I don't know.
They should catch it. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, the problem is before that, the admins thought they caught someone doing something, which was like a jet. Like there's a box on Breeze where a jet can get up on, and it's fine. It's allowed.
Yeah,
but
that-
they paused the game for ages for that.
Yeah,
And
that blew up in their face the opposite way because it's like
Christ.
you jump up there, right?
Yeah, called Sentinel Swap.
So yeah, it's just again a lot of money on the line, a lot of fame, a lot of those things, and you just start wondering where you have to really start worrying about some of these competitive integrity things.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it's early days, really. Like, in fairness, they spun this up in like a whole year, which is pretty insane,
Yes.
right? In the Overwatch world, people were still like, "Yeah, we don't know if this is going to be an esport yet. Why are you forcing it?" Where in Valorant, they've managed to put wheels on this and send it careening down the road. So that's good. I mean, Ascend, who were the team that had to deal with this nonsense, ultimately ended up winning. So they ended up coming away with the win. I think it was like, I don't know, 1 million viewers in the first map of those finals, which is a pretty big deal. And they gave us an incredible game. The Fracture map in this series, obviously it went to 5 maps. Best of 5, went to 5 maps. Fracture was like a 12-3 result, really not great there. And that was where I think a lot of people had some criticism of Keyless, specifically for having a weaker performance over the course of that series. And, you can decide for yourself whether that's justified or you scoreboard Stevens out there. But generally pretty good Valorant. Map 1 Breeze was great. Map 4 was also really, really good. Gambit, very defensively strong team. Really incredibly good. Unfortunately, a couple of players sort of weren't able to shine when they needed to. Shados being one of those. Still, it took a lot for Ascend to push him. Gambit really ran out of gas towards the end of the series. So, terrifying news for fans of NA Valorant as, Cloud9 got into the quarters and then they lost 2-0 against Ascend. And the consensus, Scott, had been for most of the year that NA was a superior region. Even if lacking depth, even if it was just maybe Sentinels. Sentinels lost to Crew. The first of the huge sort of, I guess, teams that were downed by that LATAM sort of Cinderella story team. So great event. I really enjoyed watching it. The numbers were great. Like a million viewers from map 1. Obviously, co-streaming was a huge part of that.
Yeah, and that's obviously a topic that we want to discuss as well. Just
That's why I segued
the
you,
idea
looked
of
at you.
co-streaming. My man throwing it right at me. Yeah, and I watched a little bit of it. Again, I lost some of the meta in the last couple months of Valorant, so I didn't I probably enjoy it as much as I could have, but again, I tune into a lot of this stuff for the cool looking stuff and the numbers, and obviously the numbers are consistently doing well, and
Yes.
but they're also consistently growing how many people they allow to co-stream, right? They seem like they've almost even opened that VALORANT floodgate in the sense of, it seems like every event the list is bigger and bigger of who's allowed. When it seemed a little harder to do in the very beginning, and now they've decided, you know what? Sure, Tarek. Sure, anybody
Yeah.
can do it, right? What's your thoughts on
So
this?
it's not everyone. It's still like a selected list, but it's big streamers, right? Like Ebi, Grefka, however you pronounce it. We saw the Plat Chat guys there. Kaide, I saw her at like 90,000 viewers. Mixwell, Shroud. I think that might have been Kakuka, I'm not sure, but yeah, like a lot of. So this contributed. I don't know what percentage, but look, safe to say this contributed a very healthy amount of the viewers. Now you could argue that, you know, with co-streams not there, let's say like generously 50% of those viewers are on the mainstream as well, right?
Yep.
So, but I would say that you are reaching viewers that you are not normally reaching in doing this. Even like Plat Chat, got like 2.5k viewers on that one there. I mean, you'd be fool for thinking those guys were just going to stop casting and just suckle at the co-streaming teat for as long as they possibly can.
Yep.
The concern to me is that this is completely foreign to what Riot are doing with their League of Legends co-streaming, Scott. Honestly, it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah, because there is very little, if any, live co-stream of League, and it's under time constraints and shit, if I recall, for Worlds, right?
So Captain Flowers, you know,
Yes.
otherwise known
World
as
famous.
Captain America,
Yep.
you know, jawline of diamond, you know, my arch nemesis. He couldn't attend Worlds this year due to just being burnt the fuck out. Fair enough, right? And he was obviously going to, you know, provide content around it from home.
Yep.
He was told that he could not show any footage from Worlds until 24 hours after it occurred. So he was casting the games. Now, I'll be honest with you, Clayton, I don't know how Riot casters work, but if I had like a very good caster casting over my casts, I'd probably be a little funny about it, to be honest with you. Maybe I'd want to have a conversation with you about it, but let's assume for the sake of argument that you cleared this with your, you know, everyone else who was going to be casting. That's fine. You know, still, it was a co-stream in essence, right? Because he went through all the games.
Yeah.
But he couldn't do it until 24 hours after. Captain Flowers, Mr. Golden Boy, Mr. fucking top billing, you know, play-by-play caster at Riot, whatever that means to you.
Yeah.
And apparently, this was common. There was like an embargo on all the world's content, with the exception of maybe some Chinese content creators, although I'm not too sure. So no one could really co-stream Worlds in effect, and there was this 24-hour period. And now what we're hearing is that Riot are getting more and more selective. Now they're telling people what games they can fucking co-stream. Same company, same director of esports. I mean, mate, it's Waylon Roselle.
Yeah,
It's behind all of this shit. Big boy with a big fucking, you know, job title upgrade and promotion. Big smiley face accepting all the esports awards that they shilled for. This guy is ostensibly like, you know, in charge of the whole umbrella. So why such a different policy between these two games, which are both Riot games, which are both esports? They're both trying to, you know, build them up grassroots, so to speak. They're at different stages in their life cycle or lifespan.
Sure.
But I'm seeing meteorically different approaches between the two. And it's getting worse on the league side, getting less co-streaming.
Yeah. It's got to come down to broadcasting and brand deals, right? It's got to come down to they've locked in regions, they've locked in deliverables to other partners, so therefore they can't do it in League, but they can do it.
Because League's all franchised, you think?
Yeah, and media deals are already in place with different countries and different regions, and maybe that's still a really open area in VALORANT, so they can experiment.
How do you...
And also maybe they don't care because League is already League.
Well, yeah, they don't care to like give co-streamers a chance to, you know, benefit from that broadcast, right? How do you sell broadcast rights if your game is co-streamed as widely as Valorant is, for example? Like, who's going to go, oh yeah, I'll pay millions of dollars to have this on my platform while Mixwell and Kaide are out there, you know, with like between them 200k viewers or what have you? Does that work from a business perspective to be able to... Now, Riot don't always sell broadcast rights, by the way, but I know it's a huge chunk of revenue. I think if you are going to franchise and you are going to offer organizations and teams, first of all, we're going to make them pay a buy-in of any amount. It doesn't have to be exorbitant, ridiculous, unnecessary, like 20 million.
Yep.
But how are you giving them the money back? How do you make it profitable for teams to be involved in like a franchise scenario, which we can probably agree they're tending towards with Valorant?
Yeah, I think they'll go there eventually. Whether it's 1 year away, 2 years away, I think they. I mean, without knowing, I imagine they're happy with their LCS, LEC, LCK products and want to continue that. And I think as an ex-team owner and knowing the team owners in our space, they love the security of a franchise type model, whether it's truly a completely locked in one or a fairly locked in one. They love the idea of not losing their slots because labor's expensive, rosters are expensive, all that's expensive. But I see them pulling the rug eventually. I see them
On the Valorant on co-streamers?
when the time comes, they pull it on the TOs. They pull it on because again, if they franchise it, they do it themselves, just like they did with League. In League of Legends, they had all the other TOs doing the shows. Hell, we did a WCG at Live on 3. We did the US qualifiers for League of Legends. First ever use of their observer client, and cool shit with Rivington showed up. But then eventually they learned from ESL and learned from all the big boys and went, thanks. We'll bring this all in-house. They built their studios. They put their pipe.
Took a bunch of ESL staff with them.
Took a bunch of ESL, put the pipe under the water, right, to connect the two worlds. So I unless again they want to keep these two experiments going very separately, I don't see why they wouldn't.
How much of an experiment is League of Legends at this point, right? They're like, I saw a good tweet. They were saying like they're piloting League of Legends like an industry leader, and they're piloting Valorant like one that is not yet an industry leader, or like a leader in that sector of genre, right? That might lag behind Counter-Strike, or maybe they're using co-streaming for extra reach, cultural relevancy, which is pretty important. I think you want the Zoomers playing the game. You want your favorite streamers. Yep. You want it to be cool to play Valorant, for example. But I wonder, for those streamers, I hope they realize that they probably better turn this into something that's more consistent down the track, because they might not have this as a revenue opportunity going forward.
Yeah, because I think you've got some streamers that don't, in the sense that if it went away, it would be, like if Shroud doesn't have a watch party for Valorant to stream, he'll be just fine.
He'll be fine.
Right? So will any of those type of streamers. But obviously the Plat Chat guys live and breathe this kind of content.
There's 5 of the cunts.
Yeah.
How are they going to fucking pay? Like, how much do you think Riot are paying them to co-stream?
Not enough.
And how much revenue do you think they're taking from the stream? Like, it's a good viewership, 2.5,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But for 5 people, I don't think so.
Yeah.
They'd all have to stream individually on their own channels and do quite well as well in order to pay for all that, I want to say. So, unless obviously they're doing other stuff on the side, right? But like, do you think really the Overwatch League is going to have them back on the league and let them just fucking co-stream Valorant events when they want?
I would imagine they're not
You're
gonna
out of your
they're not going to be happy with that.
goddamn mind. You're out of your goddamn mind. So I wonder what those guys are up to. Just obviously I don't know what they're doing there either, but
Yeah.
My closing thoughts on this was, first of all, Valorant gets a gold star for this year. Like, I think I had issues with Nerd Street, how they ran stuff. Plenty of sort of decisions that were dog shit from Riot's perspective on how they run their events. But given that we're in this COVID landscape, that everyone's trying to figure it out, that they put on some pretty incredible experiences, especially with the use of AR and XR, with their venues, right? Just really nailing a product that they know is not for people in the venue, but more so outside of it. I think that they have a lot of tightening up to do on the broadcast side, specifically the talent they use, how they grow them, stop mixing them the fuck up, stuff like that. But look at this. This was fantastic viewing. And, so I swear to fucking God, if the Overwatch League puts us back in that god-awful virtual set again, this 480p monstrosity that runs at 20 FPS.
Oh, God, yeah.
I'm just going to lose it, because this is how you run events where you can get teams in person, which is not always easy to do. Yep. Riot had a fucking LAN server set up in the hotel to make sure this was possible, and they had to have some teams play from there, right?
Yeah, they had a lot of weirdness have to go on.
This might be the future of events, and even if we go back to in-person events, a ton of this can still be used. Like, the viewing experience was, outside of Keyless trying to lick the fucking trophy, was sublime. So I'm really pleased with this, although I've been very critical. There's just a lot of good things to say about how Valorant has gone this year. Now, will the viewership get to where they want it to? Because I know they're watching very closely, Riot, to see if it's going to make sense to try and make people buy in or to franchise this, right?
Yeah.
The viewership, frankly, on a lot of the stuff throughout the year, your VCT, your challenges stuff, not great.
Yeah.
It's not. That could be for a multitude of reasons, but knowing what they're planning next year, their structure is going to look fairly similar. So we'll keep our eyes on see what the viewership looks like. If it continues to blow up, or if some other fucking game comes along and they get all the co-streamers and they pay Shroud and whatever to play it, and then people go elsewhere. Who fucking knows what comes out this year?
Yeah. Yeah, again, I think they had a great year. My initial thoughts when it announced was, here's the things they have to worry about. You've now made an FPS that has characters. So the core of your game has to have fresh characters on a regular basis, or your game will die eventually.
You mean content, right?
Yeah, like Counter-Strike. It's amazing Counter-Strike actually still exists with how little extra new shit ever comes to us. But like, so they need maps. But the minute they drop a new character, the same problem you have in Overwatch, then you've got balance issues. And,
the only content in that game is seasonal skins, which is great. But the last time Overwatch introduced a hero, I was childless.
Right?
I was childless.
So, yeah, I think...
My kid's a year old. And it was a year before that they fucking... I saw some guy tweet, Corey from Envy, was like,
oh, okay.
Since Overwatch pumped out a new hero, I've pumped out 2 kids. Your move. Come on.
Corey Dunn, that's great. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so, but again, I think they hit on all cylinders, They very successful launch and a great first year. Be very interesting to see what they do. Well, we know what they're going to do this year, but coming up. So let's move on. We're going to take a quick little break because we need to do that once in a while. Pay our sponsors. We come back, we got a couple things to talk about. We're going to talk about the next actually biggest, best esport. It's not Valorant.
But also ask us your damn questions in the Twitch chat because we have a segment we're going to answer them.
Yes.
So, again, we'll throw us the questions. I've seen a couple here. We'll collect them up. We'll talk about them after. But yeah, this new esports is kind of exciting.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about Blast is made some big announcements. They have Counter-Strike going on right now. We got Halo is back on the radar in a big way, and then this next biggest esport.
Oh, it's a doozy.
It's a doozy. Talk to you after the break.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the breakdown. I hope we were gentle with you over that first hour of the show. And you've got a bit of a feel for how I like to do things around here. That was my American. Yeah, like,
we might need a Jason. We might need a cunt counter that we put over Mitch that we count.
Yeah,
that's our C word. There's a whole new C word out there. We're not going to talk about it, but that's our C word.
I mean, I identify with that C. What do you think, Jason? You look no. We're not
there
talking about
is.
it. Okay.
My partner in crime, Jason Baker.
All right.
Much love, Control Room.
Listen, we talked about, we teased something before the break, a new burgeoning form of esports, threatening
Bring that
to capture the hearts and the minds of everybody that's interested in mathematical modeling. That's right, XL Esports, not to be confused by the mediocre org from the United Kingdom. This is a whole fucking scene where people use Excel. Microsoft Excel, you know that thing when you tried to make a budget for yourself back in college and you realized you just couldn't fucking stick to it and forgot about it? Yeah, that program obviously is used for a variety of things. I used it a bunch in my engineering work. The Financial Modeling World Cup.
Here it is.
It basically pits competitors against one another. They pose you a problem, right? Something you need to simulate, you need to model using Excel. I believe, I could be wrong here, but I believe obviously in each round, it's like, you are set a task and you need to figure it out. So it's not just like, here's some fucking data, pass it and give me something. It's like you need to solve real world problems. Now, and I'll be honest with you, this happens commonly for people, especially in engineering or computer science, background, but they use more sophisticated programs generally, things like MATLAB or programming languages. Excel obviously can be, considered one of those in a way, but yeah, very impressive just what these gentlemen have to do.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it, tuning in and watching their stream, by the way, this is a culmination of a league. This is the World Cup finals, so they've been playing all year, and, these guys all work for financial institutions as, financial modelers and have jobs in the business, so it's really, so they're all kind of sponsored by their companies, so to speak. And the neat part about it is when you watched it, it's got a surreal esports vibe because you got an expert, you got a host, they're talking about it, and it's all point based. So again, each little workshop puzzle they have to complete has a bunch of tasks that get you X amount of points, and there's a timeline on each one, and they basically had to do 3 different ones, and they weeded out the crew in that bracket to get to the finals. Really, really neat shit. I mean, it's just one of those, what doesn't esport? What can't you make a competition these days, right? And obviously we're taking the piss out of it a little bit, but
sure.
Really neat. They take it very seriously. Now, and I think You had some representation. I think there were some Aussies in it. I know we had an American guy. I don't think he did so well. You know, he came off really good in his interviews, though, which is an American thing. Very bravado, very, very good-looking bloke, but I think he got crushed in the actual bracket.
This is of interest to me as well, because during my tenure as an engineer, I had to do a little bit of modeling, not financial, but I had to do modeling of actually how this sounds really boring, but how these very large petrol, diesel storage tanks degraded over time. The thickness of the tank, how it degraded, how it rusted, or whatever. Because we wanted to try and sort of find out ways to create to engineer these petroleum storage facilities in a way that they didn't have to be maintained all the time. And so I used an Excel document to try and visually show the degradation of the thickness of the fucking thing over time. This has to be done in a lot of fields, and especially science, engineering, technology. I can't sit here and tell you exactly what they're trying to do here at the Financial Modeling World Cup, especially because the problems are very different. So, maybe if we ever get someone who sort of knows a bit more about that to talk to you, then they can. But I just thought it was very interesting, and I think chess making its way onto Twitch making its way into the public eye, and maybe it's a fucking game, mate. It's a game. No one's going to deny that. And, we were the advocates in esports of blurring the lines between what makes a sport and what isn't, right? We eventually decided we didn't give a fuck. We're going to do our own thing. But with chess in there and now, of course, with the Financial Modeling World Cup, I think we're definitely stretching the definition. But at least we are finding ways to create competition around these things. And your mum won't fucking tell you you're wasting your life learning how to financial model. as opposed to scrimming fucking Dust 2 8 hours a day in your childhood. Your mum would love to see you there on the Excel sheets, even if she doesn't know what that is.
Dare I mention the Farming Simulator 2021 $100,000 tournament that's going on?
That is the shit.
I have the best combine in the fucking Southwest region, man. I'm telling you.
Never played the game, but apparently people find it extremely tranquil until you start min-maxing. But I probably prefer Stardew Valley if I'm honest with you. But I can see the appeal. I think it's escapism. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm cool with it. It's something a little bit different. I have no idea what it's about.
Yeah.
And everyone seems to be wearing a button-up white-collared shirt. I'm like, all right, what can we do with this to maybe make it a bit more fun? Maybe we can't. Maybe it just is what it is, Scott.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe it's a little early, but they've definitely got a diversity issue over there in the FMWC too. They got to work on that.
Listen, guys, if you want to know what it's like to compete against every other white fucking brown-haired guy, come to me, because I've been doing it for years. I've been staving off the fucking ocean of Kyles to try and get these gigs, mate. So hit me up. I'll help you stand out. I can't help you against other minority groups.
It just goes to show, definitely an audience for almost anything out there, right?
Yep.
People find entertainment and all sorts of fun shit.
Did you say our stage
yeah. So one last thing, Matthew, who runs our XR stage here, he works for Bitfire, super rock star kid. I was talking, we were joking and testing about today's show, and we brought up this topic, and he's like, hey, wait a minute. I watched that this weekend. So he did watch it this weekend, but here's where it gets cool. So they had 3 problems to solve, with points. You can download those problems yourself and test yourself the exact same way the pros did. So that's kind of neat. You can see how you did comparison to your
I mean, I'd rather, I personally...
I heard your region's pretty shit, by the way, when it comes to financial modeling. That's what chat is calling your region shit.
Australia's bad at it. I mean, it's probably because our government's just taking too much money from people. But I personally would rather shit in my hands and clap than do that in my free time. But, I mean, at least you can actually, you can test your might. And it feels like, what is it here in the United States where there's a group of, in college, right, you go to these competitions. It's not spelling bees, but it's mathematics. Mathletics?
Mathletes.
Yeah, right. It's like the evolution of that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
sure. Yeah.
I'm here for that shit. That's cool. And honestly, you can use calculus especially, but stuff like Excel to solve real world problems. We do it all the damn time. It's how we model the world around us. We use calculus, which is why it's important to fucking pay attention to that shit, even if you're going to be a gamer. Jason, you flunked? Producer, didn't listen. If you can develop an appreciation for calculus, it's very, very powerful. But I haven't used it in many years, so take that with a pinch of salt. I spend more time trying to optimize my roots in Stardew Valley and Factorio and trying to figure that shit out.
Have you done Satisfactory yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, dude, we're trying to talk Maddie into Satisfactory.
I watched Jake from the Overwatch League just binge it, and I
it's so fun.
stood there in the stupor. So
anyway, so fun.
XL Esports.
Right. Moving on to an up and coming esport, might have some legs, might break out. Counter-Strike Blast is happening right now, Blast World Finals. We didn't want to talk so much about the World Finals, although they're having another great event happening right now. Tune in if you haven't. But more about a little bit of the evolution of Blast, right? Because they've also got some news that they announced this week. They are opening a facility in Copenhagen, their hometown.
Yeah.
They just had a big event there. A lot of big events have happened there. And basically, it's a combination of stage and studio for an audience, plus boot camp rooms, training rooms, facilities, hair, makeup, kind of the behind the scenes that you also need to go with that front of house theater room. Really, really intriguing. This is a company that when they first launched, a lot of us in Counter-Strike were like, what the hell are you all doing? Because they did it really backwards in the beginning.
Yeah, okay. So when Blast...
Really backwards.
So when Blast... Now, I was dimly aware of this when they first kicked off, but didn't they just have a wacky format? The format made no sense, right?
And Jason actually worked some of their events, and actually some of the guys in the control room, and Daniel and Ian, a good chunk of our crew, because freelancers, right?
Sure,
no
sure.
longer freelancers, suckers. But yeah, their big thing, and I went round and around with them, everyone did, was we're going to do it, we're going to come do different. You want to be different, got to get that if you're going to come into the world of ESL and DreamHack and everybody else. You got to do something different in Counter-Strike especially.
Sure.
And their thing was...
We love novelty.
Yeah, their thing was, in the arena, we're going to do all 6 teams on the stage, multiple tiered stage, 3 matches played at once so we can keep our schedule going. We will put 1 on the big screen, and that audio will come through, but the other 2 will be... all 3 will be broadcast to the world. But in the venue, then you can decide which one you want to watch, but you're only going to hear one. Not a good idea.
Can I get some whiskey in this?
Not a good idea at all for the venue experience, because it just didn't make any... It was just weird.
Sure.
It was really weird. And they did a season of it.
Why did they do that? Do you think?
I think a couple different things. They were trying to make it... So in the building, you were already, if you were an Astralis fan, if you were a Na'Vi fan, they were always there with you. They were right there. My team was always around playing. Instead of 1 match at a time, and I might have to wait 6 hours or till the next day, basically they did the same tournament structure that everyone else does, but instead of those matches happening off screen,
Same time.
they all happened on the stage at the same time, right?
Right.
So now I'm confused. Now I'm a Counter-Strike fan. I do want to watch Astralis, but I also want to watch the Na'Vi Liquid match. How the fuck do I do that now? Because you've stacked them up literally in the same building at the same time. Now, at home, you can open multiple screens and do your thing. Can't do that in the venue.
Call of Duty World League did this back when a CWL, they actually had the Alpha and Bravo streams players on the same stage. And it was fucking weird. Now, I think
Yes.
MLG had to do that because of time constraints.
Yep.
But, yeah, again, a similar idea, surely to combat like scheduling problems,
Yep.
but just obviously.
Because they
not
were trying to do it all in 2 days. They were trying to cram
Right.
it all in,
Fuck
get in
me.
and get out. Because, again, save money on venues. A
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
smart
yeah.
reasoning.
Some insane overheads, sure.
Yeah, smart reasoning, but wrong decision to help with that reasoning. And again, what we've seen with Blast, and again, I have to give them credit because I was a detractor. I went to Miami. I experienced this thing firsthand. I had lots of talks with them. They have consistently upgraded their product from how it looks to their, to their desks. Everything gets better and better. And their studio shows, when they go into a studio and build a little studio, and now they're going to build a studio that they own, they're top notch. Really neat stuff. Like when they realized, hey, we like it when 2 teams face each other when they play for that trash talk. But then they went, oh shit, when 2 Counter-Strike teams face each other and I flash you,
see the
I
flash.
can see that. So then they went, spent the money on that electrostatic glass, flip a button, all goes gray. Unflip it, now my cameras can see through it. So it wasn't a permanent barrier for production. It was only needed really, really smart
Not
stuff.
cheap, not cheap.
Not cheap at all. And again, I think a lot of these TOs are still chasing the revenue, right? They're building the product to chase the revenue. But it's really nice to see, because ESL is all stalwart. They've been around forever. They're probably not going anywhere. It's always
Formulaic, classic, but reliable. Right?
Yeah, so it's nice to see them have new, fresh competition. They're innovating. We've seen, obviously, Counter-Strike. Flashpoint came and innovated some stuff. We haven't seen them lately. Don't know if they're coming back. But they try to dip in, do some stuff different. But Blast is dramatically, again, and who knows? We're not going to talk about, we don't need to talk about Flashpoint. It's not in that topic of the show. But it's just the evolution of Blast is nice to see. Because they didn't go away. They got better. The competition made them better. And now this last major, people were like, why isn't Blast doing this? And PGL did their major, then Blast did their event. And during Blast's event, everyone was like, oh my God, why do they not have a major? Why do they should have done it? They should have. And I guess Sponge asked them this question, and on Half-Life TV Confirmed, which is a Half-Life podcast, he said that they haven't bid for one. They don't want one. They have no, or at least right now, they have not bid yet for the major. Because as you know, it's a feather in your cap, but it's really expensive.
What does running a major? Yeah. So like materially, what does running a major actually do for you? Are you telling me you recoup costs on admissions and concessions? No fucking way.
Yeah, and I don't think, and we don't know how much Valve contributes other than prize purse and stuff in the sense of helping you. So, but I imagine it's a really big party you're throwing for everybody else, and you lose a lot of money, but you get to say you threw the party. Right?
Which is a very old school esports idea, right? Like creating the cathedral of Counter-Strike. You know, I mean, there's like a a mythos, behind that, and like a whole. There's a whole sort of, not a delusion of grandeur, but this whole idea from ESL that ESL 1 Cologne has got to be in the Lanxess fucking arena.
Yep.
The stage has to be set out this way. You know, the talent has to be such and such. It's always...
Yeah, you build this.
Yeah.
You know? And again, and so good on Blast for going, you know what, we don't need a major to show that we're really good at this game. We don't need to be validated by Valve, and maybe they'll want one eventually. Maybe part of getting it, maybe once they build and open this facility, they then go after a major for Copenhagen because they can use their facility.
The extension of this, though, logically is, who wants a fucking major then? What is the incentive to do this? Why would you fucking bother? You know, like, obviously, I am being a little reductive, Scott, but...
No, I think you're right. I think this gets into a conversation we had when we were doing a test show a couple weeks ago when you were here. And we've got this weird dilemma of how cool we all need it to look and how expensive that is versus a TO actually making money on this cool shit, right? Like we talked about what Riot just did. The only way Riot can make that feasible is by also selling you a skin and making $14 million on the skin. ESL would lose money on that level of production, right? The XR, the musical acts, all that kind of shit. So it's like we set this. We have game dev TOs who are setting a bar so fucking high that any third-party TO is like, okay, I can get to about here, and now I'm only kind of losing my ass.
Yeah.
But if I try to do, and then people go, well, ESL's XR, their green screen looks so shitty. You know why? Because it cost far fucking less.
Right, so this is the ESL Pro League is in a virtual set, right?
Yeah, right. And so this arms race, because now you got TOs that are the owners of the IP in the arms race.
Well,
right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's
it's one thing Blast and ESL competing.
That's not a race, Scott. That's just
it's
like,
not a race.
That's you just getting left behind.
So,
that's why ESL pivoted their entire business model to try and deal with that reality. By the way. And that's why they let go of all the casters that were in-house. That's why they're using a virtual set, because there's a fucking green screen room in their facility, which I know. I've been there. I was sat in an office there for a while. They don't have like a physical set anymore. They don't have the space. They downsized everything, including their actual office space, if I recall. Unless it's they've got like a Copenhagen space that I'm not aware of. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they really tried to streamline their business.
And again, what this tells me about Blast is that they're looking to do a whole lot less stuff around the world and more studio type stuff that they're really fine-tuned and getting good at home and using that space to help other people. You know, they had said boot camp facilities, stuff like that, and trying to make Copenhagen this home.
I love it. I'm sure they had to raise decent money for it. And that doesn't look so much like a studio so much as it looks like a fucking arena.
Yeah. Arena plus studio is what it really is.
Which it also means that like a part of the revenue plan might be to rent that space out.
Yeah, because I think I think that floor plan was 350 seats in there. And I was talking to Jason about E-League setup, because E-League did something similar. They had facilities, but then they had a nice sound stage, but they only had about 150 seats. And you could always collectively, sneakily film 150 people to make it look like a hell of a lot more. But that's a nice little room. That'll get pretty loud if they can fill 350 in there.
I mean, this to me feels like Blast. They're going, hey, we want that white label stuff now as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because that's how you really make money. Like PGL, for
Yes.
example, they don't make money on the major, but they probably make a bit of money on running the Brawl Stars World Finals out of their little pop-up studio in Bucharest with already like everyone salaried to be there, right?
Yep.
I worked on that event a couple of weeks ago, and it was a great event, but like it is that sort of thing where you go to a TO and be like, hey, you want an esports event? We got everything, just plug and play, just add water kind of thing. So that might be part of how they plan to pay for this, but also it should put other tournament organizers on notice that it's not just Counter-Strike Blast they're starting to move into.
Oh yeah, there's no way they open this just for CS. I mean
yeah.
that's not enough, and it's too saturated. They can't have that much space in the calendar, ideally, right? And again, this is ESL's model, right? ESL white label. A lot of pro leagues you might never have known were run by ESL, but they were, right? So I bet ESL is probably even going, oh shit.
I think it's the way.
Yeah.
I think, and the ESL Pro League is not white label, it's blue label by our definition, but with
No,
the amount of
that
sponsors
one
they
is.
bring on.
Yeah.
And the amount that they obviously provide to them, it always feels white label in a way, because you cannot survive as a blue label event provider. It just doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yep.
You just don't do it.
I mean, even us, we're a different kind of production company. We're not here to be TOs. We would be supportive of TOs with shoulder content, but we're hoping to do a bunch of white label content because that
Sure.
is where you can make extra money, not
Yeah,
on
the
shows like
facilities,
this.
right? And like
yeah.
admins don't always need to be on site. You might have a couple here as well, but
Yeah, lots of remote stuff you can do these days, especially nowadays.
Arizona's booming. fam.
Booming, baby. Come on out. Come join us in Arizona. All right. So Blast, again, congratulations on your stuff. They are going on right now. World Finals happening. So if you're into Counter-Strike, there's always Counter-Strike still going on. It's awesome. What are we? You know, we're going next.
Yeah, I know where we're going next.
Another new esport.
Let's go.
It's back. It's back.
It's crazy. I obviously Halo esports to me was something that I personally was never really deep into because I was a PC player.
Yep.
I was a competitive PC player. So it was Counter-Strike, TF2, or COD 4 for me back in those days. But I always was dimly aware of, you know, Halo and obviously other sort of console-based leagues that were a thing. Obviously, like, there's a proud history for this game. I worked a HCS event, actually, when I was in Cologne, which was awesome. But, I mean, a lot of people are very excited about Halo making its run back with plug-and-play esports straight out the box, which is pretty incredible. And people are just, no complaints. People are like, yeah, I'm ready for this. You know, with other games that aren't established, they'll be like, wait, we don't know if this is even a good game. But
Yeah.
we know Halo's
Like,
good.
teams are already in, you know, and again on the nostalgia side, we talked about G4 coming back. I mean, Halo is a pedigree, especially when you talk about U.S. and North American console sports. If it's not fighting games, it's Halo and Call of Duty, right? And the funny thing about it, Jason and I were riffing about it this morning, was when this game was originally announced, Bungie game, Halo, was going to be a PC game. And, you know, in 99, 98, and we were all like, oh, this shit's going to be great. We can't wait to play it. We were all playing Team Fortresses and Counter-Strikes and Quakes and stuff. And we're like, this is great. Vehicles, fuck. Oh, fuck. Microsoft gets involved. Xbox comes out. They make it a console exclusive.
And we got rugged.
We got wrecked. And again, but the cool thing about it is, like, out of Halo comes the existence of this behemoth MLG.
Yes.
Right? And obviously MLG is now gone.
Well, is it really?
Gone in name, reborn in a whole new way. Obviously, if you don't know, MLG eventually gets bought by Activision Blizzard, eventually gets sucked up.
Do you want to know the story behind this?
Yeah, let's go there. Let's go
Story
there.
time. So this again.
Story time with
I'm
Mitch.
not going to incriminate anyone else, but this is what I heard about this whole story, and for me, it's a fairly reliable source. So Bobby Kotick.
Heard of him. I've heard of him.
Bit of a known quantity in the space somehow for all the wrong reasons. He, saw MLG. He was like, "Oh, cool. MLG's cool. They run these events. They've got a platform, MLG TV. Remember when Nadeshot was streaming on there? It was like a thing. They had a platform, right?
Yeah.
Bobby Kotick is operating, Activision Blizzard right now, right? And at the time, he was like, "We got this, got this Overwatch thing coming out." He says to Twitch, he's like, "You're going to pay us big money, and we're gonna put Overwatch on Twitch." Twitch are like, "We're gonna pay you no money, and you're gonna put Overwatch on Twitch. How about that?" Bobby turns around and says, "Nah, fuck ya!" Goes and buys MLG for the player, thinking he would fucking contest, he would challenge Twitch and put over. Maybe it was COD. Maybe it was probably COD actually. Either one of them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, buys it. Does fuck all with it.
Yes,
Then
fuck
they
all with
fold MLG. So they bought this. They fold the MLG people into things like the Overwatch League, right? So many of the people that were instrumental in building up the COD COD World League, which was that at the time,
Yep.
and Overwatch League had come from MLG. But many of them just eventually they moved on to other things. Adam Apicella also had moved on to other things. So they sell MLG and they go and spin up the same fucking thing. Love to see it.
Yep.
Esports Engine gets thrown. I'm not thrown together. I mean, it's like the same ethos as MLG.
Oh,
They
same
don't fuck
people.
around.
Yeah.
Same people in charge, especially. They know their shit. They know how to run events. And wow, I mean, can you believe that Halo comes out in the same week they announced their esports thing? It's ready to go straight away.
Yeah.
And Esports Engine's right there, like, let's run it back, baby.
Yeah, it's so cool because it's like everyone coming home with some slightly different names and polish on them, right? And the cool thing about it, because again, obviously, I worked for MLG. They bought Got Frag. Jason and I both worked for them. So we know Adam and Ryan and all these guys that are now made their way to Esports Engine, and they have a piece of it now. They don't work for someone because it's Sepso, it's Sundance, Sandbox, it's Vindex, it's all the same vertical.
The Vindex Trust, that's what Esports Engine is under. So it's
all
all
the way down.
It's all these first-gen Silver Fox, too much money, too many ski trips esports fellows now that are just fucking bankrolling it all.
And the neatest thing about it is for literally probably a decade now, Adam has been talking about how everyone kind of fucks this up because everyone starts at the tier 1 of the game. The game comes out, we worry about filling arenas, we worry about tier 1, superstars getting paid $50,000 a month to play the game, $20,000. No, and then we worry about tier 2, then we worry about grassroots. He's always ranting on about this is how you need to do it. You need to start here. You need to do X, Y, and Z. X, Y, and Z, please. And they didn't listen to him at MLG. When companies would hire him, they wouldn't listen to him, because they were a big white label company too. Now they're a very big white label company. And he could only activate those kind of ideas on the MLG brand of stuff, right? And now it seems like with this Halo product, he's literally been able to sit with these guys, him and his crew from the get-go and go, this is how you do it. I mean, this event in Raleigh this weekend is like esports of old in North America. Open bracket, 1,000+ players showing up, not pros. And then the pros are showing up. Again, it's like old school MLG shit. And he believes this is the way. And I don't know if it is or it isn't, but I always loved going to their events because they were fucking packed full of people that were fucking living the dream.
I think this was when COD was at its best as well, when they were able to do this. And then, invariably it gets fucked up somewhere along the way, right? And we want to... Here's the thing though, right? Like you can't... Like I love these open scenes. You can't have franchising with that, really.
No.
But again, you get that... I think that's the real romance about the FGC as well, is that it's open to anyone and anyone can make it, yada, yada. I don't think anybody at this point is going to argue with Adam Apicella. Not only because he's just fucking hench as hell and could turn me into a pretzel, but also...
Yes.
Can you think of any... I have a very short list of like people that I really truly respect in esports, right? He's absolutely one of them. Never worked with the guy either. But his ethos is really clear in how it comes out in his work. And he's really always stuck to his guns.
Yeah.
And as someone who's a fellow endemic, I'd like to label myself as, he's the kind of guy, he asked me to fucking jump, I would definitely say how high. I would love to work with, whatever that guy. I trust him. I trust him with the fate of a big part of our industry,
Agreed. Some of my favorite Counter-Strike memories when they finally decided to do some Counter-Strike Global Offensive. They did a major, they did some CEVO
like
stuff.
Columbus major, right? Yeah.
Just glorious, joining back up with them after the Got Frag days, because we full circled then came back for Global Offensive. And two things about Adam. A, straight shooter, gonna tell you right to your face how he feels about you. And more importantly, if he fucks something up, he's also gonna admit to that and try to do better. Right? There's very few around us that are like that, right? That'll fall on the sword if they need to, and stick up for the right shit. So it's really cool. And again, fingers crossed for you, Adam, entire big team that this weekend goes well for you. Jason and I again were giggling about Raleigh because. Have you showed the B-roll yet from Raleigh? I don't even know if you showed it, but obviously what's happening is they have an event this weekend. So they've launched, multiplayer's out, which obviously they nailed that. People are loving it. We're going to talk a little about multiplayer.
There's a staggered release as well, and then the single player came out, last week, I think, which has been getting rave reviews.
Yeah, I need to get into that. Need to get into all of it. And Raleigh, they're going back to Raleigh, right? Which is, they used to stop in Raleigh. And we were laughing about it. I did a Counter-Strike event. Not Counter-Strike, it was StarCraft 2. It was a multiple event. MLGs obviously were multiple games. And one of my fondest, craziest ones is memories of this 2010 Raleigh event. I can't tell you any of the fucking stories. I can tell you no stories, but I wish I was going to be there this weekend because it's going to probably be some people going, oh, yeah, I remember this from 10 years ago.
I mean, this is so. It seems to me that Call of Duty, to a great degree as well, and Halo, things that MLG were behind, huge in the Midwest, really captured that market like nothing else really in entertainment products for 18 to 35s. I hear stories. I keep hearing stories about people traveling for days by car to get to some fucking place in Chicago or the Carolinas or fucking wherever to play at these lands. And this is something you don't really see in Europe to the same degree. Like in Europe, like Halo is not nearly as big, I don't think at least, as maybe in the UK, right? UK defense, in the same way that COD does. But this is like a God-fearing American esport straight from the fucking cornfields of the Midwest. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like to me. But it's huge. It's fucking gigantic.
And it's funny because like Adam and all those guys are Midwest guys. Chris Puckett, they built this sport.
He has a fucking MLG tattoo on the underside of his arm, by the way.
You know, dragging their... And I remember when we first went to an event, again, they got Frag. We helped them kind of learn how to live stream versus... And Lennox... This great guy Lennox, who's now he's now
Halo,
like a
right.
VP or director or something big at 343 or Microsoft, one of the companies involved. Super nice guy, but he was a like assistant director pushing TriCaster buttons and all sorts of shit.
He was still doing that. He was a producer, I think, when I worked with him in Cologne on HCS.
When I first met him, his job was going to each Halo station, putting the recordable DVD in and hitting record before the matches. They had to record on DVD every match, then go edit their shows, right?
Man.
They've come a long way. So good luck, Adam, and Esports Engine this weekend.
I mean, there's no way this doesn't go off.
They'll nail it. They'll nail it. And obviously, they've been doing other stuff. This isn't their first event.
I will say, though.
But let's get into this other side of this stuff.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
Have
you played it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not for me, man.
Why?
Because I don't know. So obviously, I have, like everyone, these halcyon memories of playing it as a young guy, right? On my mate's console, or we don't have a console. We're in the country. My mate's console on the weekend, right? The problem is that if you're a PC player, this game is fucking hard, and I'm washed as fuck. All right. As soon as I had a kid, I realized that I was just giga washed. Obviously, you could be a PC player and get Onyx. Like a bunch of my mates have done it, and they're casters, so it's not that hard. But it's hard to beat console. It's hard to beat console players as a PC player. I fight, and I am. Let's just put it in perspective. I am dog shit. I am casual as fuck. But this is a relatively high time to kill. Okay, this is a graphic from Reddit. This just illustrates to me the difference I think in effectiveness you can have as being a console player as opposed to a keyboard and mouse player. Obviously, Scott. You get aim assist, on the console. It's always been a thing. This is a high time to kill game. With the battle rifle, you need to hit, 4 full bursts
to
remove
bursting,
shields, right? Or at least it's 3 and then a headshot or something like that. I'm shit at the game, so I couldn't tell you. But look at this and tell me if you see anything potentially wrong.
Well, I mean, if I'm reading this right, they're far better. Control players are far better aimers than PC players.
Yeah, I mean, this is... okay, well, that's one interpretation
Which way do you want me to read these stats?
No, I mean,
as a console player, you all suck.
You're definitely encouraged to read it however you like. This is obviously accuracies of players on controller and on PC. Now, look, I mean, PC games, like... Controller, you might say controller players are better aimers, but I'd like to see them try and play Counter-Strike or Valorant on a controller. Like, it's just not really reasonable.
And the interesting thing is, we always kind of giggle as, PC, keyboard, mouse PC players, because obviously a lot of people play on controllers, that we get, whenever you cross-platform, we win. We have the advantage. Like, we just...
So we should. With a glorious...
We have the advantage on a cross-play.
With a glorious PC gamers, Scott. This is how it is written. This is how it shall be.
So did they just decide, like, oh, we'll show you, PC gamers, like...
So... no, I mean, no. It's a combination of aim assist being there and quite sticky, right? And also it being a high time to kill game. You need to get rid of shields, right? So 3 to the body, 1 to the head, as it's pointed out in chat. In like a more precision game, like a one-hit kill game, you probably find on PC it's easy. But what tends to happen is that the movement can be erratic and you feel a little boxy, or even on the PC a little bit. It's very floaty.
Floaty, that's a good word for it. Yeah.
So it can be a little hard to track your opponents effectively, and this is why you saw it here. The top 100 keyboard and mouse players and the 50th percentile of controller players differ by like 1% of accuracy.
Yeah, the middle part of this stat is where it's all fucked up.
Yeah,
right?
we take the median
terrible
here, right? These lines. So that's I think the most egregious thing here. And also like top 100 keyboard mouse and top 100 controller. Like, I mean, that is a pretty substantial difference in medium. It's like 47 to 56, right? It's a lot.
On the Reddit thread, what was the conversation like? Like, we're getting fucked, or like?
No, people were like, yeah, I mean,
They
this is pretty reasonable.
Okay.
I get this. To be fair, it's Reddit, so I mean,
Yeah,
again,
fair
maybe
enough. Yeah.
but console players these days usually are sat at a PC anyway, right? You know, so it's you know, it's much the same thing.
Yeah.
But there might be some selection bias based on the platform there. So purely from a personal perspective, like I much prefer playing like games like Valorant or, you know, Overwatch. I haven't played that in 3 months, but just Halo for me, it doesn't feel satisfying, and it definitely feels like I really do struggle against controller players or everyone. It could be placebo as well. I could just be dog shit and be telling myself it's because of that. That's the problem. If this had never come out, maybe I would have just fucking ate some humble pie and got good.
Yeah,
But playing the game is, I'm sure I'm going to love the single player campaign, but in multiplayer, it's just, it's tough. It's tough.
Fair enough. Well, again, we'll be watching this weekend. I'm sure it'll go well. Let's move right into our Q&A and see if we got some questions.
Hey, you
from
guys asking
people.
questions, or have we
Got any
been so clear
questions?
that you guys have just had no
See.
concerns or any confusion?
Our first Q&A. Let's see what we got. Let's see here. I think.
I know we have one.
Okay, here we go. Should I read this? I'll do the first one. First one, from the outside, the PGL numbers looked fishy as hell, but I haven't seen anyone be shocked. What are the factors that make the 2.7 million peak viewership seem reasonable? Thank you, dude with the nose. Okay, so viewership numbers of PGL, Counter-Strike Major, 2.7 peak. I don't know if that's fishy. You know, when you start thinking about, it's been a while for a major. You know, the drought of that, the hype of that. What I don't know necessarily knows is it dude or nose? You're with the nose. Like,
That's a lot, man. That's
Yeah.
a fuck ton of.
is
big
that
viewers.
is that
and that's
counting?
not counting like Asia.
I
or
was going to
anything
say,
like
does that count China in the possible fudginess of our Asian numbers? No China, and obviously Navi every year gets bigger and bigger as a beast themselves in the sense of viewership models,
Right, so
and what they
we
bring to the
unlocking
party.
this like CIS, you know, viewership that was hitherto
Yeah.
untouched.
There was a little bit of, I think PGL did a little bit of watch party stuff, but I don't think in the sense of new viewership numbers that would like.
Because this game is not big in China. It's not.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's a lot of viewership for Val. Wait,
Simple
Steam-
versus Nico in the finals is where those numbers came from. So maybe, I mean, dude, I would also say that I believe that everyone fudges their numbers a little bit in our industry, in any industry.
So for context, right? I mean, Blast is ongoing, right? Isn't it? Peak viewers so far 488,265. I mean, that's not even the finals yet, right? It's still going.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is the same website that's given that stat. So that doesn't seem unreasonable.
Yeah, especially for a major, and one that haven't had in a while. So yeah, that's probably not that fishy.
I'm gonna here. Let's look up. Valorant. I'm pretty sure the Valorant Champions was like 1 point something million. So I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Peak viewers 1,089,068 viewers for Valorant Champions. So there 46 million hours watched.
Yeah, and I think Counter-Strike, you know, we do have a boatload of non-English channels that bring in a boatload, you know, Gauls and Brazilians, those streamers, again, the CIS region. So, yeah, I could see that, plus the main broadcast adding up to about 2.7, give or take.
Yeah, so I think it's fine. Again, like it's hard for me to say because Overwatch League, when we look at our viewership numbers, China skews that so fucking heavily.
Yeah.
It's like League probably has the same problem. It's so fucking big in China, and I just never know. I can't trust, and it has the impact of me not being able to trust any of their numbers.
Yeah.
So.
And I think part of it, dude, was we might think it's fishy because we weren't necessarily so impressed with the major. You know, it wasn't the greatest production-wise as it could have been.
Yeah, still,
for
but
me.
rarely.
But
That's more of like usually
But
a
that's-
hindsight thing,
yeah.
right? It's not normally like something that actively affects viewership.
No.
Unless it's like a glaring production problem that just like puts people off of it. Like League of Legends Worlds, put it in perspective, Esports Charts quotes their peak viewership at 4 million.
Okay.
So it's feasible, to 2.7 million, and I think that's that's in line. I think I reckon they would have wanted more viewership than that personally.
Yeah.
But it's a major. We had COVID. It's the first LAN major since all this nonsense. So yes.
Yeah.
Short form, yes. Long form, yes.
We're not going to bust that myth. We're going to say that that's accurate.
Plausible. Yeah.
Plausible.
What do we got? We got another one here. In meat sports, cheating, such as going out of bounds, handballs, fouls, etc., don't result in straight-up forfeits. Should esports allow breathing room for players to risk breaking rules in the same manner?
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Thanks, Sexos. I'm going to assume that's how it's pronounced. Okay, so yeah, that's right. So obviously, I think touching the ball in football is, I guess, cheating. Essentially, usually it's not on purpose, right?
Yeah,
it's like an accidental infraction. But in some cases, players take the risk of causing an infraction to sort of impact the way the game works. But I've never seen a ruling outside of it being like a doping one that would ever result in a whole match being forfeited
or even replayed.
Yeah,
in that sense, no, I think you're right. So, but I guess that gets down to having to define penalties so you can enact those. Like, this happens, you lose 2 rounds, we move forward, done. It's like throwing the flag, this happens, and there's just not a lot of...
Well, logistically, you can't replay a Premier League game. It's not happening.
Yeah.
Right? So that's not an option to you anyway. And I think if you wanted to resort to some sort of penalty, you just fine the clubs that have billions and millions of dollars. What's going to happen if you fine Furia or Vivo Kid $100,000? They're fucking Brazilian. We're going to go, oh, fuck me. Well, I guess that's the end of us, isn't it? You know what I mean?
You find G2 and he laughs all the way to the bank.
It just
Carlos
means
whips out his wallet.
It means one less player that gets poached for some random mobile game. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It doesn't hurt his bottom line.
Yeah.
So the same the same elements of recourse are not available to you. If you're trying to penalize an esports org over a fucking gigantic team, unless they're backed by an ownership group like Cronky or something like that.
Yeah. Because then Jay brings up another thing in meat sports. Ref decisions can impact the game in progress. Not as easy to do in esports.
We just don't interrupt the game.
We don't have much of that.
Yeah. And I think if I guess we could, but what will we do? Make them play with one less player the next round? Or add, subtract around? I guess we could be more interventionist, but I think people would tire of that really quickly.
Yeah, like what kind of okay,
you could
a
stop
rule
the
infraction would be you can't buy any flashes.
Yeah.
You have to wait and spawn for one extra minute. These different weird, you can do weird shit. But
Riot's League Ops couldn't organize a shag in a fucking brothel over in Germany, right? So they paused the game because someone got on a box in a way they didn't like, and it was like a fucking hour pause. So much so that Shazam almost pissed himself, didn't he? So it's like I would not trust that team to have the authority to stop the game at will. You know what I mean? And also how effective is your pipeline for conveying to the viewer what's happening, and how can you be sure you can resolve it in a timely enough fashion as well? I think you could do this. You could move towards a future where teams take an economy penalty in the next round, or a player penalty in the next round. But I think you would really have to flesh out the kinds of infractions that could be caused. But obviously, this is not specifically about the Vivo situation, but I think the sentiment is that the punishment is too severe, perhaps.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but I'm not even arguing against that. You might be right. I'm arguing that there's already precedent set and they didn't enforce the precedent.
That's the issue here.
So but it's a fair question, right?
Yeah.
I just don't think that some punishments aren't as enforceable as they are in a meat sports world.
Yeah, because some of those things that a ref has to deal with in the real world sports are actually just in the game already built to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Right. So very interesting. All right, we got another question coming in. I'll take this one. Let's see. What do you think? Oh yeah, we brought this up before the show and asked if we should talk about it. What do you think about Soulja Boy trying to sue Twitch? Oh god, there goes my. I can still hear you. I think my microphone doesn't care about it. So this obviously broke right before we went to air. Soulja Boy has been banned a couple times from Twitch, I guess, in the last week.
But he doesn't know why.
But he
does know why. Well, he doesn't know why, but he's race baiting about it. So that's nice.
Yeah, so he's now threatening to sue because he thinks they've banned him for racist reasons.
Well, yeah, they think
that's what he's saying. And
did we catch it? Yeah, so Twitch is racist. I guess that's close enough, right?
Wants to go talk to the CEO, looking for Emmett Shear to chat with him. Emmett, Soldier Boy's
Yeah,
looking for
have
ya.
fun with that one. That's like knowing that fucking I don't know a tornado was sat in the waiting room. You're in the principal's office.
Yeah, and again, I don't know. I didn't catch any of his ban stories, so I don't know why he got banned or what he's fighting against. What he
Fucking
said he
Ludwig
did.
got banned twice by YouTube in the space of a
Yeah.
week, and he don't know why either. I
Yeah,
don't think,
it's
or at least.
crazy.
I mean, fair enough. Like old mate doesn't know why, and you know what? I'll give him benefit of the doubt. Soldier Boy might not know how to get in touch with people, right? Clearly, he didn't make his money from being a shrewd networker, did he?
Yeah.
I guess you could kick up a stink about it, but yeah, he's called. You know what's so funny is that these people are larger than life. I love it. He's calling for a lawyer, and his line is, "I got millions, mate. Where's the lawyers at to represent me in my lawsuit against Twitch for being racist?" All right,
Don't you have a lawyer, Soldier Boy? Wouldn't you?
mate. I mean, I would expect he has
crew of
contracted a lawyer at some point in his life. That's all I'll say about that. For whatever reason, okay? Even I have done that. But I
He's
just
big
find it-
enough to have people, so to speak, right? Like,
the guy's got 5.6 million followers.
yeah, he's got a
So if like 1% of those just follow along with his hashtag, he's creating a storm. He did find out what Emmett Shear's app was, and he literally tweeted, "We
no.
need to talk, Emmett Shear,
Oh no!
now."
Oh
period.
no! He gave a now.
Yeah, and
Oh
now.
boy. Well, and then and obviously we're not. There's not much to talk about of this news other than it's news, And then Hassan, big streamer on Twitch, also got banned temporarily for and his mods before him for the use of the word
So-
cracker. So
Who gets mad at that?
I don't.
I just think it's funny.
I'm rarely speechless. I don't even know how to address these topics right now.
Right, but you know what though? Soldier Boy might be right. As he's pointed out in chat, Twitch might be racist because I do know that like there are a bunch of streamers that just like pop off with the N word and no one touches them, right?
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of things that are allowed to exist on Twitch that we can agree shouldn't.
Yes, they
Especially
have
like
moderation issues
the
for
hate
sure.
raids and all that sort of stuff there. So I think that means they're fucking incompetent, not racist personally.
Yes.
But that's my more charitable interpretation of their inability to control what happens on their
Yes.
fucking platform.
Yeah, never confuse maliciousness with incompetence.
So yeah, was that Helen's razor?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So
Something like that. I hacked that all to shit.
So-
but something like that. Yeah.
it's a fucking nothing burger, I guess, but it's just really funny that like this. I just love a huge mainstream brand just fucking taking aim at Twitch, this gaming platform, and like fucking, and Emmett would probably be like, "Somebody hold me right."
Yeah. Why is this guy coming after me? What have I done?
It's funny. That's what I think about it, Johnny Silver, which sounds like a fucking. I mean, it sounds like you've been in the wrong kind of film industry. That's all I'm going to say, or the right one. Thanks, Johnny Silver.
All right, and it looks like Twitch actually might be muting your mic now as part of the ban process. So,
Oh, well, yeah.
You're all good. Well, that's gonna actually do it. We've kind of hit our topics. We've hit our mark for our very first show back. Very exciting, Mitch. Thank you again so much for being part of this.
Is this
with me.
working for you?
I love
Is it as
this.
good for you as it was for me?
Yeah,
All right.
I'm a little different than I was before COVID, but I still like to rant. I just didn't want to rant alone.
Sure.
And so now we can bounce off stuff and
Misery loves company, though.
solve all the problems in the esports gaming world, every week.
If we solve the problems, what would there be to rant
shit.
about?
Shit, we won't have a show. Never mind, we won't be able to solve those. So, a little housekeeping, obviously, Do Not Peek, alive and well. So we have shows now Tuesdays and Wednesdays on our Twitch channel. Valoranting every Tuesdays, hosted by him, Ben Silly, and Mitch Man. Don't want to miss that. That's
Good show.
11 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock for us in Arizona. And then every week, Wednesdays, the breakdown is now back. We're going to be here every week. 1 hour later, 12.
And if you guys, enough of you sub to us, we'll turn this into a really buttoned up and soulless TV show where we read off.
Oh,
the
yeah,
prompter.
I will.
So
I will,
That's the runway, guys.
Help us
Think of-
afford a teleprompter.
You can create that future.
Hi. Welcome to the breakdown. No. Thank you again, folks. We are out of here. That's it, Jason. Get us out of here. Thanks for watching, folks.
See you guys.
Thanks, Control Room. Love you all. Thank you, Bitfire. Thank you, Twitch. Thank you, Mitch. Good night.